Hi everyone, we're here at the Conservatory of Music and we have an amazing concert lined up for you tonight.
These live performances are made possible by ticket sales. We encourage you to make a donation online in lieu of purchasing a ticket.
Your contribution also helps us with instrument repair, ensemble touring, bringing guest artists to campus, purchasing music, and enhancing our classroom technology.
So please either scan the QR code or click the link in the description.
Alright, it's almost time for the show, so grab a seat, or rather, your comfiest spot on the couch, and thank you for supporting us here at the Conservatory of Music.
I started doing this years ago so that I could feel the pedals, but I have a herniated disc and I'm doing physical therapy at Kaiser so that I can learn how to stand, walk, sit without strain. But it really helps if I don't have shoes on. I don't have a problem with it, and most people don't, so it all kind of works out, you know?
That's right.
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, I can't deal with that. Sometimes, I don't know, in the last couple of years I've been wearing sandals, because I don't wear stocking, holes anymore, or socks. And so this kind of makes it okay. And the main thing is to focus on the music anyway, rather than to worry about all this other stuff. I mean, I can't deal with it anymore. So I've gotten, so I figure people could listen to the music, and that's the most important thing, rather than what my feet are doing.
And if the performer is uncomfortable, then
Yeah, I used to do, I know when I played here, when I was on the faculty, I used to play without shoes. Nobody noticed, it was fine.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I needed to make a case for it. And it seemed to be okay, And after all, I mean, I think the main thing is to be comfortable. Yeah. So is Sam? I guess he's going to introduce. I don't know if I start talking or whatever. What time do you have? Let me know.
3:04. Oh yeah, 3:04.
Okay, I'll just start. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I think it's that time for us to start. I think you have your programs. I just have a few things that I'm going to say. I'm going to make my comments brief because I'm really here for the students. That's part of my job. That's all of my job, for a class. So welcome. Thank you for coming out and taking time from your day to listen. I have one change that I need to make regarding the little short program that I was supposed to play. I'm not going to do the Bond's Fugal Dance because I've been practicing it with a butterfly pedal on my iPad, and it's the kind of thing that one just has to get used to. So it's on the recording that I just released called Reflections in Time. And for the students in the audience, all of this material is on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. So if there's anything here that is missing, you can, in your leisure, listen to all of the material from my recording on those streaming sites. I thought I should mention that. And I also left with Dr. Hsu a copy of the recording for the Music Resource Center. I think that there are places in there where you can actually listen to it, so I just wanted to make that clear. The first piece, called Flamenco, is a short dance that Bonds wrote for the piano. It's very lyrical and poignant. She was really fascinated by dance forms, and that's one of the pieces on the recording that I think you'll be able to listen to. The second piece that I'm going to do is the waltz from a suite by Samuel Coleridge-Taylor called 3/4, which is usually the meter that's used for waltzes. Actually, a very interesting title. There are 6 waltzes in the set, and I'm playing the last one called Allegro assai in C minor. He doesn't give a title to each waltz. He just uses the tempo indication, and you'll hear that. And then the third piece is an excerpt from Frederic Rzewski's Down by the Riverside. For those of you who are not familiar with this composer, Frederic Rzewski died in 2021, and he was a major composer and American pianist. He was very much connected to themes about social justice, about racial inequality, all of the things that deal with the end of war, ending war. He was very much concerned with that, and so a lot of this music deals with those particular elements. And Down by the Riverside, when I get to it, you'll notice it has a very familiar theme at the opening, and then toward the end of that, all hell breaks loose. It dissolves into something that is quite different. But you will hear the themes. I'll have more to say about that before I play it. The piece is rather lengthy, so I'm only going to play the first half of it. One other thing that is really interesting about Rzewski is that he gives the performer a lot of flexibility, and there are places in the piece where you can improvise, which I really am challenged by, but which I have come to enjoy. And I think I'm going to use that when I do the actual performance in a couple of months, but I won't do that today, but I just thought I should mention that. He likes the idea of having a pianist improvise in the context of an actual piece. So I'll start with Flamenco and then do the other 2 pieces. I'll have more to say about Rzewski too just before I play, so be aware of that. Thank you. Now, a few things about Rzewski before I start. One of the things that I mentioned was that he was attracted to themes about social justice. And if you remember Down by the Riverside, there are two parts to the song. I'm going to play through it just so you can remember it when it comes back in all of those dissected versions. That's the part, I'm going to lay down my burden down by the riverside. Then the second part goes, I ain't going to study war no more. And then that repeats. And then there are different versions, you know. I'm playing what I remember from my grandmother teaching it to me. So there are different versions, and sometimes the notes will change back and forth. So what happens, as I said earlier, in the second part of the piece, it just dissolves into something that is radically different from this peaceful thing that I just played. And you're going to hear fragments of both of those melodies, but they're not necessarily logical. The other challenge that I think anyone who plays this kind of music is that you have to decide how you're going to break up the hand division. I had to create a roadmap, so to speak, for learning the piece, because it's not just left hand, right hand, and then you just go on and do your thing. You have to figure out how you're going to divide the hands, and so that was a real challenge, as you will see just from this brief little excerpt. Once you work that out, then the piece is doable. But even though I've done all of that, as I was talking to Dr. Shu about it, you still have to remember to face the challenges that come with playing it. I suppose the closest composer, American composer that I can think of would be Ives, Charles Ives, who also wrote a lot of difficult music for the piano, the Concord Sonata, other short pieces, and of course symphonic music as well. Rzewski also wrote large choral works, orchestral music, a number of things for the piano. And I should mention to the students that these North American ballads, composed in 1978-79, including this piece, are all available. You can buy those if you're interested. They're part of what's called the Zenon Library Collection. So all of this music is available, and of course you can listen to it on YouTube. Rzewski himself has recorded all of the set, the North American ballads, and so you can hear him actually playing Down by the Riverside. That set is dedicated to a pianist, I think his name is Paul Jacobs. So that way you can get some insight into what's going on. So I will start with that. Let me add one more thing before I do this. Samuel Coleridge-Taylor is not an American composer, and I didn't mention that when I talked about the waltz. He is an African composer, but he was born in London. And he had a very successful career, although he died at the age of 37, but composed a number of chamber works, pieces for piano. There's a concerto, which I'm not sure if it's been recorded or not, but throughout his short life, he was able to write a great deal of music that is still being discovered today. So I thought I should mention that. I included him in my set, although he's not an American composer. Bonds, of course, and Rzewski are. So here's the excerpt, and we'll go from there. If you have also any questions that you would like to ask, I'm happy to answer, to respond. Okay, that's the end of the excerpt. There's a lot going on. Thank you. At that point where I stopped, this would be the place where the improvisation is supposed to happen. I have not made a firm decision on that, but he says that the improvisation should be as long as the preceding music. So that's a long time to actually improvise. I have to make a decision on whether or not I want to do that. I'll have another month or so before I actually play the complete piece. I should also mention that at the end, there's a little obbligato part that it comes in a nice, pleasant key like D major. And then the second time around, you play the tune in the bass. So he really lets all of that just come out. I mean, I ain't gonna study war no more. It's really beautiful, but as I was saying before, the hand coordination is really not a picnic because you have to work everything out ahead of time. But one of the things that I have really loved throughout all of these years that I've been playing both standard repertoire and new music is that I want to challenge myself to not just stay in one little corner, but to explore all of the repertoire. And I'm very, very happy and honored that I'm able to do this. So thank you for listening, and we're going to have a short break, and then I'll listen to the students. Thank you.
Before we proceed with the master class, after just a few minutes of break, I'd like to invite you to please sit towards the front of the auditorium where we would hear the interactions between our students and the grades. Please come forward if you could. We'll resume in about 3 minutes.
sensitivity to what's going on. This is really, you played really well. I just have a few things that I think probably will help. You know, it's always a challenge, I think, with there's like, you open the door and all of a sudden you're in this room and, oh, and then it's not dramatic, but it's, what do you think the character of the music is? I'm just gonna ask, what do you think when you this opening especially?
I mean, I think the character changes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I will be honest, I feel a little confused about how the character goes in the opening, because I think when I first started it, I thought of it as really like innocent and like playful and like lighthearted. And then I had a master class with this guy, and he said that it's more like, it's supposed to be like hunting horns.
Well,
More so.
I would certainly it's elegant. There is something also that hinges on something that's a little bit more operatic. I don't know if you when you think about characters coming in and all of a sudden they're doing something that is elegant, not not hardcore, but gentle and graceful at the same time. That's the challenge of playing Mozart. I think all throughout it. It doesn't matter whether it's a sonata or a larger work. I mean, you're going to be faced with how much sound you should give and when do you, at what point. One thing I noticed about the opening, and this is something I don't really do, this is all one phrase, right?
Yeah.
One thing that you may want to really pay attention to is the fact that you've got to get all the way to the top. If you can shape it a little bit more, and also probably a little less pedal if you can. I think in this room, you know, the sound is pretty reverberant. It's okay. Can you play just the right hand for that opening? Mm-hmm. You might also think about playing more to the bottom of the key so that you can feel a little more weight there. And start with your, one more time. All the way down. Yeah, and another thing that will help you with that, I sing everything that I play. I really, people think I'm crazy, but da-da-da-da, you've got to get to the top. So you always have to be aware of the fact that it's a vocal line. And you want to be aware of that. For the rest of it, you can lighten up a little bit on your now can I hear the whole thing just as much from the beginning with the arpeggiation in the left hand? Okay, that was much better. When you have it's like bowing, bum, 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 bum. Take your time. You don't really need to play any faster. It's a good tempo, but you want to be sure that you shape this so that this is what we're really hearing and focusing on. In terms of your left hand, you know, it's all on this one B flat, 7, 1, right? So that's your foundation. Pay more attention to. Don't be afraid to sing that out. Can you try one more time? Yeah. Yeah. Remember, when the left hand comes in, it's like the response. La da da dee dum ba dum. So you don't really have to back up. Don't be afraid to project. That was much better. Okay, now going to the next part. Da da dum bum ba da dum bum ba. I always feel like this. Let those speak a little bit more. And so be sure that you are feeling the bottom of the key always. Can you start right where that second?
There?
Yeah. Don't rush. Be sure The one thing about that little fanfare thing, I always, again, think about characters coming in and opera, da-da-da, bum, bum. All of a sudden, another character comes in. And we go into minor just for a little bit. So when you end your da-da, like somebody's curtsy, da-da, da-da, another idea, okay? I don't want to get too far into being dramatic, but you know, it's a change of pace, right? Okay, so can you start, think about 1, 2, 3, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Don't feel like you have to rush. Try again. Not over-pedaling, all right? Here is, feel the weight of that. Give yourself enough time. I think you took a little bit more time, and I like that much better than don't feel like you have to rush. Also, the cadence, just before we go into the D minor section, let that sound last a little longer. And lift it here. Would you mind, maybe not doing the whole thing, but can I just hear maybe 1 or 2 measures before you go into D minor? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Listen carefully for that. Now, you can also use a little less pedal. When you start out, we really need to hear that, right? So be careful about the sound and the arpeggiation getting a little too blurry, all right? Can you start right where that happens? Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, 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 bum, 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 bum. One more time. Shortening those notes, especially for the cadences. We need to hear where that's going. It's going to the dominant, you know, C major and all that. I know you know that. But listen carefully for that, and also that you are not over-pedaling in there. I would practice slowly without any pedal at all, so that you can really hear what is going on. Because the one thing about all of this is that if the lines are blurred, then it makes it almost more difficult to hear. Also, another thing I would mention, I don't know if you do this, but know what the predominant harmony is all the way through. I don't know that it's important to label every chord. I don't mean that. But what happens, you have to be aware of all of the harmonic connections in the piece, right? So in your score, know that you're going to the dominant, that the second section, starts in the closing section starts in C major. You need to be aware of it and listen very, very carefully for those entrances. Okay, now let me hear the second theme. Yum, bum, bum, dum. Notice that they're slightly contrasting a little bit. What I noticed when you were playing before is that the sound was a little too short. Can you lengthen those a bit? And you have to shape it. Okay, can you start right there? Yeah. I think a lot of it is because you have to give a little bit more weight to the sound. So don't be afraid to. I don't always feel like you're getting to the bottom of the key. Try one more time. Give me a little bit more. Like you're hold your arm? You don't mind? Okay, so when you come down, you know, you have to be sure that you are giving more weight to those so that you can feel. Let me hear just the right hand, please. Well, yeah, that's okay. Play the melody now in tempo with just the right hand. Yeah, and what you can do here, I would lengthen those. I know that there's space in between, I understand that, but I need to hear what's happening there. So. Now that's all, to connect the the phrase is pretty long, right? You gotta get all the way to that one without a breath. That's better. Okay, now you got the idea. See, you have to be sure, okay, you've got an audience here, you want them to hear everything that you're doing, right? So you don't want to hide as if you're playing under a blanket. I'm not saying you're doing that, but you want to be sure that and that your audience hears everything that is happening. But that also means that you have to listen carefully for the weight of the sound. That's why I mentioned that in addition to coming down so that we know that, okay? So let's go on to the transition now that leads us into the next part. Can you start here? You've got a counter melody, really. I think, can you come, even though it's marked piano, can you lengthen these quarter notes a little? I'm going to get on the other side. I don't want to block it. Let me hear both parts. The way you were doing it before was fine. I was only concerned about. This time. I won't stop you, I'm sorry. That was better. Okay, what you have to do now, all throughout here, this is really kind of nice, the way he does the syncopate is great. When you come to this, you now are coming into the closing section, right? So you have to play probably a little lighter. Can you make a little shape, a little swell in there? Can you start in here somewhere so I can hear that? Yeah, and I think for that, again, length. They need length. Let's go to the second part where this starts. See here, it's marked piano, but you've got to remember that all of these require a little more length. So let's say you're playing here. And you're going to the long note. That's where you need to use a little more. Can you start? Give more sound. Yeah, I don't hear any difference. Trying to get to the long note, so give more weight to that as much as you can. Note, you don't want to sound like you're separated from what is happening there. Can you hear the same places again?
From the beginning or from this?
just right there at the very beginning of it. Yes. Yeah, I don't. A little more sound there. You're lifting up, boom, can I hear just the boom, 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 can you just play the end? Starting on C, boom, 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 boom. Maybe. It's better? Okay, you don't need any pedal actually on the final note. Okay. I think you can do it without. The biggest problem with over pedaling is that a lot of those lines will get blurred. On your arpeggiation here, those are always a little hard, but you can be sure that you maybe not play quite so heavily, but save your forte for the part there, yeah? All right, so a lot of what I hear now is that you have to really listen carefully for the sound and the weight every time you do this. And when you're starting out, think about carrying a phrase as if you're singing it here, mentally, so that you know that you have to do all of that opening up on one breath. I really believe in having a vocal concept to everything that's being played. Otherwise, you tend to forget. And so you have to listen all the time. All the time. So never separate yourself from what is going on. Now let's go on a little bit. I know we don't have a whole lot of time. Development. Here, these are going to require a little more weight also. So can I hear just a little bit? I know we probably won't be able to get through all this. Now you can. Can I start? Can you start one more time? Same place. Rush. You've got to play it as if it's really important. You know what I mean? In other words, make us call it to our attention.
Okay.
Make us feel like this is something that you want us to hear. So don't hold back. Can I hear one more time? And then I'll go on. And when you approach it here, I need to listen for the first note. Down to the key. Keep going. Balance-wise, now just imagine that these are lower strings in the orchestra, but they're playing quietly. And here you can lift, right? Can I hear the part that comes in the lower register? I'll move your score over a little bit. I'm listening. So this is like a little surprise, and we know that it's coming back. I understand that, and you do too. But be sure that you give yourself enough time. I like very much what you did here. So I'm going to reduce this to 2 or 3 basic things. First, listening for the sound. Second, playing to the bottom of the key. And then third, be sure that you observe the length of each note, especially quarter note, eighth note. You don't want to chop phrases up, and when you are playing these long lines, which are also challenging, you want to be sure that everybody out here in the last row can hear what you are doing. I'm not talking about playing forte now, don't get me, I'm not saying, that's not what I mean. But you have to project the sound so that it's important to you and to the listener. That's where shaping comes in, and that's where you really need to feel the bottom of the key all the time, okay? And don't compromise on that, because otherwise a lot of that beautiful stuff gets lost. A lot of this music, like I said before, is operatic. Characters coming in, making an entrance, characters leaving out, going out. So it has a little bit of what I would call an operatic sound or connection, if you will. Okay, so I don't know, I think that's all. Dr. Shu, is that all of the time that we have? I don't know if you know. Anyway, I think we'll stop and then go on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Waldstein, yeah? Yes. Oh my goodness. You start with the introduction and then So it's a work in progress. Okay, this is really, I admire you for taking it on. It really is. It's not the easiest piece, right? I just have there's several things, but please start with the introduction. One thing that you want to be very conscious of is Adagio molto, much Adagio, very, very. So you want to create, I think, in this whole introduction, a feeling of spaciousness so that you don't feel like you have to rush. I think that's very important because he's setting up what is going to happen later. But this is kind of an interlude to that, or as it says, introduction to that. So can you, when you start here, be sure that you, is again a question of weight, be sure that you are taking enough time, especially here. I would really, I hate to say slower, but yes, it should be slower. So that you don't feel like but take your time. And sometimes, the other thing I should mention, the silence between the notes is just as important as what comes before and what comes after. Because let's say we don't know this piece, we've never heard it, we don't know anything about it. So you are making a statement. Take your time. I think you have to really come back to playing very, very slowly. So you can think about giving more weight here, even though it's quiet, I understand that. Bum, ba-dum. So we have a, can you start from something that, let me hear that? Try not to rush. Sets it up for you by saying, hold on to these, give these notes their full value. And then here, you can also do something that's not marked. You can come up a little bit and then come back down. You know what I mean? So you have and then It's like the rest of the thing. Can you start once more? Think about 2, 3, and 1. Bum. You have all the time in the world. One more time. Yes. That's the resolution, right? Because you're going from this to that. So after you've done that, and then it's a little higher here, he's shifting just a little bit, but you want to be sure that you keep the same quiet character because that's the way it's marked. But you can do a little bit more here and then back off again. Can I hear the second one? The second time? Don't rush to it. One, and breathe. And wait, yeah. And next one. Next one, go ahead. Now here you can do more, yes. Finally moving away from that. You know what I mean? So you have to, can I hear just the measure before that so I can see how, hear how you get into that? Don't rush. Take your time, 2 and 3 and 1. that whole thing now sets up what is going to happen later. What you have to be conscious of too, I keep dwelling on the harmonic connections are really important. This is really like an orchestral texture, right? I mean, he could have written this for an orchestra, because there are things in there that are, I won't say they're impossible to play on the keyboard, but they come fairly close when you listen to it. The texture, all of it. So you have to be sure that you are sustaining especially those opening bass notes on the F, the low F, so that you really hear that. Take your time and don't feel like you've got to rush into that. I really, I mean, I know I'm asking a lot, but because it's molto Adagio, that means it's very, very slow. Okay, now let's go on from there, because I wanted to hear. Can I hear the G minor 6 to the 5/7 going into F major? That's where you stopped, right? So can I hear? Well, let's do this. Let's do this bar, and then going into this one. Let me hear how you do that. Now you also you try not to break this up. Bum, bum, bum. Make a connection there. Okay, and one. Take your time. And one, and then you can wait. Yeah. Now, for the soft part, I know it's hard sometimes on pianos, because on our instrument, as soon as you strike the note, the sound decays, right? So we got to do something to make the sound last. I think what you can do here, can you start a little bit, give a little bit more sound? Yeah. Can I hear the chords just before that? The G minor 6, and then 5/7, and then going to F major. 3, 1, 2, and wait. Yeah. Be sure that your low note sound. And you can give a little bit more if you want. Yes. Right. Now, here's something else. Imagine that, let's say viola or cello playing the top line, right? So you want to be sure that you connect all of that. This is a different section coming in, right? Yeah. But you want to be sure that you really are singing that top line as much as possible. It's not so much loud, but has to have a presence so that you really make that a little bit more significant. Can I hear just to pick up to that bum ba-dum, where you going up, bum ba-dum, you're going to get. Here's the thing that will help with that. Can you if you can give a little bit more weight here. I don't think you want to back off too much, because it's only marked piano. So you can come up a little bit. This is like the extension of this, right? Because the phrase hasn't ended. It's still going on. So can I hear this part? Well, let's do this to make it run up. Let's start here. Play this. Give yourself enough time, because you don't have to. It's not like you're keeping a steady beat there. After you play your F major chords, wait, take a breath, and then begin the next section. That gives us time to absorb what you have already done, what you've already played. So let me hear G minor, 5/7, and then 1, 2, and 1. Good, and wait, and yes. Very gentle. Yes. Wait. but I think you should connect more here. You know what I mean? So because I know it's marked, with a little dot, but I think you can connect more. You know what I mean? So that it doesn't sound like this. I think you have to sustain quite a bit more. Try one more time. It's okay.
From the
Yeah, that's fine. And breathe, and 1, and 2, and 3, and good. Take your time on those extensions. Bum, 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 as if you have an eternity to play all of that. The one thing that will help with that too is if you think about being expressive, I guess it's what I would call cantabile, you know, singing all the way through so that you don't feel like you have to rush on those. Yeah? Okay, so let's go on this time because I know there's a lot more. But can you go from where you stopped? And then... Yeah. Yes. But what is so wonderful is that it's what we would call a holding pattern. You're here. This is taking him a long time to get there, to get to C major. So allow that sound to really resonate. You know, I thought you had a very good approach to it. I like what you did just before that, you know? So can you start, I just had one more thing, but I know you want to go on. If you are concerned about playing too softly, use more weight. You can bring it out. yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, it's just the bottom one.
Yeah, the bottom note. Yeah, and you know what I would, instead of doing, trying to sneak in on it, just go to the, you can use your arm this way, and it will sound fine. I don't think it has to be like so quiet that you know you lose the octave. So you can bring it out. Now going back to what you had here, we're in suspense. We're in a holding pattern. So can you start here, and then this time I won't stop you. I want to hear how you get into the next part. So here, when you come back to this, now finally we're landing on the dominant, but he's not there yet. He's changed his mind a little bit. So you're going to go back to G sharp. Can you start here? Bum, bum, bum. That was much better. And you know, it's not so much about counting, isn't it? It really isn't. It's about how you hear that and taking the time to let that sound just really hang out. Because let's say we don't know what's going to happen, you know, next. So you can I like very much what you did here because you took the time to do that and then going right into the next part. So you need to, I like very much what you did here, and then taking time, so you don't have to count, it's just a matter of being expressive. Now, next part, when you start here, this is probably one of the more challenging ones. He's got pianissimo, and then you've got all of this. All right, be careful about, I know your hands are crossed over and on, but bringing that one out, it's almost as if you're playing arpeggiation, and then you've got this melody that is kind of closed in with it. So when you start out, be sure that you are taking time. He says Allegretto, moderato. So it does not have to be bum, bum, da, da. Obviously not, right? Bum, bum, bum. You can create more of a feeling of spaciousness. I think I would. So don't feel again that you have to rush to get into that. Bum, 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 you know? Many pianists play these things differently. I'm not saying that there's any one way to do it, don't get me wrong. They all have different concepts about what this is and what this means. But I think for my take, my money, whatever, take more time to allow this to happen so that you don't feel like you have to rush. Bum. Okay, so let's do this so you can get into it. How about playing the last measure just before you go into the rondo, okay? I'll get over here. So, in other words, once you arrive, you know, you're the one who is really being expressive there. I like very much your opening. It sounded really quite lovely, and a great balance between. So would you mind doing it again? I hate to stop you, but I wanted to hear just the measure just before, so you can start that again, and give yourself time, because you know, it's almost because you have to last all the way to the end of the Prestissimo. So. You don't want to feel like you're rushing. Endurance is a big thing in a piece like this. It's physically taxing. It really is. There's a lot going on. So you want to be sure that your energy is not before you get to the end. I thought you did that beautifully. That was great. One more time in the bar just before, and then we'll go on this time. forcing the sound, I would use a smaller motion for those, so that you're not, I mean, I know it's marked really, very strong, but you know what I mean? You don't need a lot of heavy finger action. What you need to do, I think, is just a smaller motion, and the sound will still be okay, but I think sometimes this gets in the way. So you can still do that, but just use a smaller motion if you can. Yeah. I would. Yeah, can you? I'm bringing that up is because this comes back many times, right? I mean, you know it, you know the drill. I mean, it comes back a lot. So you want to be sure that you conserve your energy on the scales so that you're not just kind of really expending all of your energy to play the C scale going down. I don't think it's important. Now, I like very much what you did here too, because you see this is only marked forte. So you can take it easy. Put it on. You don't have to rush. And also here, save your energy for bum 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 bum. I would bring out the bass line, because you can shape it here. You know what I mean? So it's hard to just start right in the middle. I'm sorry to do this, but is there a place where you can start? Can you do? Okay, yeah, that's fine. You've only got weight here, and then it's cascading down, right? So it's one harmony for 3 or 4 measures, and then you change. So you can, again, take time before you start this theme one more time. I forget this. So allow yourself to breathe. Breathing is extremely important regardless of what you're playing, because you have to think about how you are carrying that and communicating that to the listener, to the audience. So this, I know we've already done. Can you go on from, let's see if I don't know if it's hard to start. I know you played this, but is it possible to start C minor? Yeah? Bum, 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 bum. I know you've got a lot, but can you make these 8 notes longer? They're coming across to me as being a little too short. Is it possible to lengthen? Bum, 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 bum. So I hear a line. Yeah. Two sections that are fairly dramatic. Remember, it's only forte. He says sempre forte, always forte. But you want to be sure that you're not overshooting. You know why? Because of what's coming up later, so you want to be very careful about that. Yeah?
A few minutes.
Okay. All right. So, lengthen these 8 notes. Okay. When you get into this one, I mean, I think what I would recommend here is, can you bum, 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 bum? Maybe piano instead of pianissimo, because you do have to build up. Be careful about that. And then here, I think, because this is really like a filler, you don't need to play out. very, what's the word I want? Not delicate, but airy. You know, it's not heavy. So when you play here, use less. So can you start? Yeah, I think so. It's more of a spacious thing, but also to just hear the harmony there and not overdo that. So this is a little. Okay, I know we have to stop. I like very much what you did here in the when you got to the. This was really cool. Those are hard to do, but you handled it really, really well. So at the end, there's nothing going on here except it's the same idea again. He never got tired of just using that theme. So you want to be sure that you give yourself enough time, especially in here and just before that, because once you finish this, then you have this Lasagna stuff waiting for you. So it's great. I so admire you for doing this. It's going to be wonderful. Thank you so much. Sounds beautiful. Congratulations. This is a huge piece. I mean, there's so much more that I could add to it. I'm sure I didn't cover all the bases, but I just wanted to deal with a couple of general ideas to help out. Very slow Adagio for that introduction, okay? All right, I think I have one more for the Chopin, yeah? question, what do you think the character, what is this about? What is the character of this piece? What do you think?
Maybe like sad or sorry.
It's very, it's lyrical, but also you've got a gorgeous melody in the top, and the biggest I think the challenge of this is to play the melodic content while you have an accompaniment underneath, and sometimes it's hard to manage both. So let's go back to the beginning. I just have a couple of things that I think will help. When you, right? That's the tune. Okay, so one thing to remember, and it really also boils down to, okay, how much weight are you going to give to all of those elements? One thing that you can do, this is an exercise that I gave to a student who was working on the same piece many years ago, but you know, if you can practice, you don't have to do none of it, hold the top note down so you can hear it. Tune, and let the chord, the rest of the chord, just go so that you hear that. You don't have to practice now. It's just a suggestion. It's one way that you can do that. When you have all of these together, you really have to now work at bringing out the top line. Right? So you have, I think I can show you here better. See, this is all sustained, right? So what's been happening, as I heard you just now, I don't hear any difference between this and this. So now you're going to have to give a little more weight to the top so that we can hear that and play that as if it's really important. Can I hear just the leave this out? Play just the melody. So you can, yeah, without any pedal. Just sustain everything. This is one long phrase all the way across. It really doesn't end until here, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures. That's a long phrase. It really is. If I was going to sing that, I would probably take a breath here. But then I would have to sing all of the rest of that as if it's on one breath. So you've got to get to the end of that phrase. Play just the melody, please, just so I can hear that. So now that you've got that, you have a really good idea what that is. A very expressive, very beautiful melodic line, right? Yeah? So what you have to do when you bring this back in, I'm just gonna, you don't have to get up on. You've got to give more weight to that as much as possible. That's why I recommended that exercise. Practice that. I don't want to make too much out of that, but what's really important is that we hear the melodic line all the way through. Okay, I thought your level, as far as what was happening here, you can be more supportive here. Let me just, I can demonstrate this a little bit so you can get an idea. Start at the top and play out a little bit more. Make that melodic line sound really important. I'll go through the exercise, but I'd rather have you just do it because I know we don't have a whole lot of time. Can you start from the top? Play out more. Going on. If you leave the pedal down, then that harmony is going to be blurred and you don't really hear it. Bum, 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 bum. So you have to. You can't leave it down. But then you get a clash, right? Everything just kind of blurs in together. So you want to be sure that you are not just sort of letting the pedal cover that. You know what I mean? You have to pedal, but be careful that you're listening all the way through to be sure that everything is clear. I thought the beginning, when you played it next time around, sounded much better. Can you try that again? Listen carefully now to everything that you're doing. Make that melodic line sound really important. Now you start from the top one more time, and just play out. I thought that was better. Right? La da 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 da. I'm going which way? Up, right? So what you can do there show the direction by moving up and shaping it so that you can get a little louder. Right? Can you start again? La da 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 dee da 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 dum. Top note. Start a little softer, but build up as you go. One more time. Right there. Da 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 da. At that higher level. I like very much what you did before. Can you start on da da dee da 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 da? Try here. You get into that. Bum 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 bum. One more time. Now, when you end, remember, we still need to hear. You don't want to let it die away too early because then we don't hear where you're going with that. I know you know the key and all of that, but the point is you want to be sure that that's clear. All right? I like very much what you did before that. That was good. One of the important things about this kind of playing is that if you've got a melodic line like that, you want to be sure that when you practice it, that you play the line all by itself so that you can hear that and hear where it's going and think, more importantly, about what is it that the composer is trying to express. And you can write this in. What's very important about any kind of music is that you are expressing what the composer's intentions are as far as you can, as far as you know. I mean, Chopin's not alive to tell us how to do it. We only have his music, and we have letters, and we have a lot of other information. But what I'm saying is, you have to decide and determine what the emotional content of that music is. What is it trying to express? What does it say? And that's what you're communicating, you know, to the audience. So you have to be really involved in it and connected to it so that when you play, you convince the listener and everybody else who's hearing it, this is what I want to express, okay? I write down in my scores all the time all kinds of words about the emotional content of the piece, because that is how I inform myself about what I'm supposed to do. And you should do the same, okay? So it's more than just playing the right notes at the right time, right? You have to go beyond the notes all the time in order to understand everything, and you can do that. So that's what I would recommend for that. Now let's go on, because I know there's not a whole lot of time. When you play this, okay, this is a very contrasting section to what you just did. Yum, bum, beep, bum, bum. You don't have to rush. He says animated a little more, a little faster. But be careful about this. You have some big leaps there. They should not be extremely short. All right, is it hard for you to start here? Do you want to go back? Can you start? Yeah, can you start here maybe? Yeah, play your final E major chord there before you go into the next section. My hands are hard. Sorry. You know what I would recommend here? Can you do half pedal on, I don't mean all the way through now, don't get me wrong, on the downbeat, bing, bum, so that I can hear the length of those notes. Just here, bum, 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 beat, so it's more like direct pedal right on the downbeat. Because if you pedal all the way through, then we're not going to get a sense of what's happening. You know what I mean? Can you, you know it, so can you start right here? Well, play, let's do this. Play the E major cadence, and then I'll turn it. Go ahead. Between this and what you just played. First melody is sustained and very lyrical and expressive and peaceful. This one is a little lighter. Yum, bum, 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 more dance-like. So you have to show, you don't want to play on the same level as you did the very first time, because now he's showing a contrasting section, right? And it's going to move into something that's very, very different when you get into this long place where you have all of these diminished seventh chords moving down. What I would recommend here, I don't have a pencil, but if you can use direct pedal on the downbeats, and you talk about this with your teacher. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you it's got to be this way, but you can get a little bit more of a sustained sound here, okay? And then when it starts to change, you see here, he's moving again into another key area. So this is what I would call a short holding pattern, moving into something else. Can you start, oh boy, it's kind of, can you go back, and this time I won't stop you, play your E major cadence, and then going into that? Establish what's going on, he's shifting a bit. You can bring this out. We need more sound. So when you come into it the second time around, da da dee da 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 da, it's a little more urgent as well. I don't think it needs to be any faster. I don't mean that. I'm talking now about how the line should be played. So you have to give more sound. What's happening is that everything that I'm hearing for both of those sets, those sequences, is on the same level. So you want to be sure that you are establishing something different there, right? Change of harmony, change of the line. It's not the same as what happened here when all of that, at the opening. So you have to be much more emotionally connected to what is going on. Don't detach yourself from that. Okay, I know there's more here. Can you start, oh boy, how about here? Is that a bad place for you? Can you start that? The same thing I would make you look at this one is marked forte, this one is piano, so you have to come on. It's like all of a sudden you want to drop. Bum 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 bum. And there's a big interruption there. We haven't had this material at all. So he is now moving into something that is quite different from what you had at the very beginning. Can you start here? Can you give more sound? Play forte. Don't be afraid. Okay? I lost the last part of this. Let's go back and bum, 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 bum. I think it was a little bit too rushed. Same thing. Bum, 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 bum. Take your time. Okay, you've got the slur mark, phrase mark, and then you have you don't want to play these so that they're so short. I would not do that. I think probably what I would recommend is that you connect these a little bit more. All right, and then here this is all very, very chromatic. I mean, you've got a whole sequence of diminished seventh chords, and he's finally going to get back to E major, but it's going to take a while, right? So you have to show a bigger difference here in order to do this. If they sound the same, then there's no contrast. So, see, I'm just see, more sound for the first one in A major and less for the one in A minor. You know what I mean? And then alternate. So let's go back to that and let me hear the rest of it, because I know there's much more. Can you start in that same place again where you have bum, bottom, and don't feel like you've got to rush to the next vista. Bum, 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 bum. Take your time. You have all the time in the world. Bum, 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 bum. The length, it needs to be just a little longer. You're going bottom, bottom, and I'm left hanging. What's next? Can you make those a little bit longer? Bottom, 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 bottom. Those are very dramatic gestures. And for anything about Chopin, this is all very chromatic. He comes in and he emerges at a time when romantic music and chromatic harmony are really out there. He wasn't the first composer to do that. I mean, it goes back a lot longer, than that. But all I'm saying is, you want to be sure that we hear all of that and that you don't lop off the ends of phrases. You know what I mean? Be very careful about that. Okay? Can we? I want to go on because I know there's more over here with forced. Bum, 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 bum. Can you start here? Is that a bad place? Okay. Let me know. One thing to remember is we have to hear all of this, right? When you come back, I know that's one pedal and then you go into this, but what's important here, he's making a very dramatic gesture, right? And then at the end of that. So be sure that you are very deliberate. Bum 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 dee dum ba dum. That's the ending of that. So can you start once more? And once again, don't think about counting. You're making a statement. Bum 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 dee dum ba dum. That's the ending of that. So can you start right there on the forte section? Go ahead. Because that's really the highest point. That's the climax of that entire section, right? Beep, bum, 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 bum. So even though it takes a while to get back, like I said earlier, to E major, again, more sound. I thought you handled that really, really well. But going on from there, he's finally winding his way back to E major. It just took a while to get there. This is like I would call this a cadenza. It's not marked in a score like that, but it really is like a cadenza. The part you just played, all of that, and then finally winding down into the key of the piece. So if you think about it like that, it's also, I'm going to use my pop language, it's a place where pianists get to show off. You know, they get to explore another whole area there. So it's a place where you can really, now I'm really bum bum beep bum 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 bum, and then finally you come back to the original key. Okay, so going on from there, there was something else I wanted to mention. I hope I don't leave anything out. Yes, be sure that you are clear so that these chords are not blurred. You want to be sure you hear everything and giving more sound. This is the same as what you played, right? Can I hear la-dum? Now notice you've got, do you know what this means? Smorzando? Today, yes. Getting a little quieter, and then here you can make more of a retard. Poco rallentando is a gradual retard, and then you're back to the tempo that you established at the very beginning, because this is a return of the primary material. Okay, we're going to have to stop. All right, so be careful about that, and about also lengthening your ending. Okay? All right, thank you. Keep going. Sorry we didn't have more time. There's always more to be done, right? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the performance and the wonderful comments. Another round of applause.
You know, I just want to say that it was a pleasure to hear the students, you know, that there's always so much more that I'd like to add, especially with work like this. And I'm thinking, what else can I say to make it, you know, to hit the mark? But thank you, Dr. Hsu. I have CDs, by the way, for Craig and for you. And be aware that all of this music, again, is on all the streaming sites, so you can listen to it. You don't have to pay, I think, to hear it. So thank you for that. It's being submitted for a possible Grammy nomination. So we're very excited about it. Thank you.